Are you crazy? It was my lawyer, Jack Thompson. They've got an ironclad case against you. There are probably a dozen witnesses, including your wife, not to mention very clear video footage from not one, not two, but 3 separate security cameras, all in broad daylight, too. Your fingerprints and DNA are on every weapon you've used, and your motive is very well documented. And that doesn't even include the fact that the cops caught you red-handed, and their video cameras showed you attacking him. Jack's voice echoed in the small room as he laid out the grim reality. I understood why he thought I might be crazy for refusing the plea deal they offered. I could plead guilty and get 5 years with another 5 years of probation, or go to trial and face the chance of a 15 to 20-year sentence. If I were a normal, intelligent person, I wouldn't be in this situation at all. First off, it would have been better if I hadn't committed the crime in the first place. And if I did, I should have at least tried to cover my tracks. But no, I did it, and I didn't care who knew about it. Listen, you hired me to represent and advise you. I'm telling you, you don't stand a chance in court. The DA is only offering this deal because of the backlog of cases. By taking this deal, you save yourself the cost and time of an unnecessary trial. My best advice is to take the deal. You won't enjoy it, but no lawyer in the world can save you from this. If we go to trial, all I can do is sit next to you and watch the DA crucify you. I don't even have anything to justify my decision. As soon as the prosecution finishes, I'll drop my case too. I can't even call a single witness in your defense. You're finished. The only thing you can do is mitigate this disaster as much as possible by serving as little time as possible. Going to court will cost you a hell of a lot of money just to make things worse for yourself. So, lawyer, when will the trial take place? How long will it last? And how long after that until sentencing? I asked. Jack's eyes seemed to glaze over as he tried to come to terms with the fact that I simply didn't care. Due to the coronavirus, the actual trial will take place in about 6 months. Before that, there will be an arraignment, a hearing on charges, and an evidentiary hearing. I'll file motions that need to be heard, and the DA will file motions and a few other things. All I can do is try to delay the trial, but that won't change anything. Great. You need to call my sister and let her know what my bail will be. She'll post bail for me. It won't be cheap, but that's not your problem. Also send her your invoices. She'll take care of them. He left, likely considering a psychiatric evaluation for me. Perhaps there could be a plea of insanity. I was fine with that. I had no problem paying him more money for trying his best, not that it really mattered. Oh, you might be wondering what's going on. Let me go back a couple of months. My name is Hank Miller. I'm 56 years old and live with my demanding wife, Linda. We've been married for 25 years and have 2 daughters, Emma and Sarah. Emma is 22 and in her final year of college studying mechanical engineering like me. Sarah is 20 and studying business administration, planning to take over my firm when I retire. We run a small company and are comfortable, though not rich. We own our house, still making payments but with only a few years left. We drive decent cars, nothing luxurious. I made sure I had enough money in my investment accounts to retire comfortably when I turned 65. Linda has been a stay-at-home mom since Emma was born. Once both kids were in school, she did some volunteer work to get out of the house. When Sarah left for college, her volunteer hours increased. I encouraged this, thinking it made her happy, and allowed us to attend more evening events. Linda and I had an amazing sex life when we were dating, engaged, and newly married. Having kids slowed us down, but we still had sex 2 to 3 times a week. It wasn't as adventurous as when we were younger, but it brought satisfaction to both of us. Everything collapsed on a clear autumn morning. The week before, I had gone to the doctor for some tests. I had been feeling overwhelmed and lethargic for some time. Linda noticed and pushed me to make an appointment. I was depressed when I left the office. The test results were not good. I decided not to return to work that day. I needed to think about what to tell my wife and daughters. I headed to a small sports bar to have a burger and some alcohol while pondering the news. I was standing at a traffic light near a local college when I noticed Linda's car pulling away. This wasn't a surprise since she tutored students on campus as part of her volunteer work. What was surprising was that she wasn't alone. In fact, she wasn't even driving. Linda was in the passenger seat, and a young, very large black guy was driving. They didn't see me as I was a couple of cars behind them. Even from a quick glance, it was obvious that Linda's full attention was on the guy behind the wheel. It all seemed wrong. They turned onto the road in front of me, and I decided to follow them. I made sure there were at least 2 cars between us. 5 minutes later, I watched them pull into a cheap motel. As they turned right into the motel parking lot, I turned left into a shopping center parking lot across the street. I watched them get out of the car and enter the motel lobby. A few minutes later, I saw them walk across the second-floor balcony and enter a room. It didn't take a rocket scientist to understand they weren't studying literature, but rather anatomy. 2 hours later, they left the room. By this time, I had my digital camera ready. I always carry it with me to document problems on projects. I had my zoom lens on to make sure I captured detailed photos. He kept his hand on her ass as they walked back to the lobby. This time I recognized him. He was the star player on the university football team, expected to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL. I'm a bit of a football nut, so I enjoy following the games and the analytics. This helps a lot during office pools and game betting. I win more than I lose. Well, my wife was cheating on me. For me, this was the complete collapse of our marriage. We had discussed this before, and "till death do us part" meant something to me. It's a vow to God, family, and friends AUR to each other. It's an oath you just can't break. If you don't need me anymore, great. If you're stupid enough to want to leave, I'm smart enough to let you. I already fought for you once. That's what dating and engagement are for. I won that fight when she said, "I do." I didn't have to fight for her again. Fine. All the plans and decisions I had made had to be changed. I needed a new plan. I waited about 10 minutes after they left before starting my car and continuing on my way. I ended up at the sports bar, my original destination. I took my notepad and chose a booth at the back of the hall for some privacy. I ordered a burger, beer, and bourbon from the waitress and began to formulate my plan. I wrote down notes in 4 columns. What will happen to me? What to do with my daughters? What to do with a traitor? And what to do with him? First, did it really matter what happened to me? Not particularly. There was an issue that made everything in this column moot. I had no way to forgive and forget what my cheating wife did. There could be no possible path to reconciliation. I had no future with my daughters either. Although I loved them with all my heart, I would never be invited to their college graduations, walk them down the aisle at their weddings, or put their children on my lap. Second, speaking of my daughters, I needed them to be taken care of. Of course, they were adults and could take care of themselves, but I wanted them to succeed. They still had to finish college and gain experience before taking over the firm. I needed to make sure they had enough resources to support them until they became self-sufficient. If I could leave them more to make their lives better, that would be a bonus. Third, as for my cheating wife, I wanted to hurt her as much as possible. I would show her what real revenge is. I gave her everything I had. And how did she repay me? She won't get anything else from me. Fourth, he took one of the most valuable things I had from me. I would repay him by taking his most expensive item. Once the brainstorming was complete, I started creating a flowchart. For those unfamiliar, a flowchart is used in engineering to define the path of decisions or events. IDOWorkHereLady's an if-then document. If yes, do this. If no, do that. From there, it expands. The result of each step leads to the next step until the problem is solved. It can be used to logically solve almost any problem, identify possible problems, solve them in advance, and anticipate obstacles. 4 hours, 3 beers, and 2 double bourbons later, I had the outline of my plan. Unfortunately, 3 beers and 2 double bourbons later, I was in no condition to deal with a cheater. Yes, I probably shouldn't have done this, but I went back to the office. I was far from drunk, having 5 drinks in 4 hours, so I wasn't too bad. Still, I probably exceeded the limit. I have a small room in my office with a bed and an attached bathroom, handy for long evenings with tight deadlines. I sent a quick message to my wife, letting her know I had a deadline and planned to sleep at the office. The next morning I got up and continued with my plans. By noon, I had everything laid out in detailed steps. By the end of the day, I had gone through each step detail by detail and revised as minor problems were discovered. I decided I had 30 days to take care of everything before the last step. I stayed 2 hours later than usual, rearranging my steps to accommodate deadlines before heading home. By this time, I had enough control over my emotions to carry on as normal. I also made up a cover story to explain to Linda why I was so exhausted, and what the doctor said. I told her that age and overwork were starting to take their toll. He wanted me to cut back on work a little and play more sports. Of course, I would be too tired for sex for a while until my new lifestyle took effect. Yeah, I could never touch her again, but she didn't need to know that. I managed to spend a normal evening at home. I didn't have to pretend to be tired. I was genuinely exhausted. Linda tried to be gentle, but I was too worn out from the mental stress and fitful sleep of the previous night. She asked about a project I was working on, and I gave her some vague details about a time-sensitive design with changing parameters. She had never been involved in the company, so I could tell her almost anything and she would believe me. The next morning, I got up early. I needed to make some appointments and talk to people. I should probably point out here that the business, like most everything we owned, was registered in my name only. Yes, we started the business after we got married, but I had the income and authority. The company was created as a sole proprietorship, with me as the owner. Linda's name wasn't on any document regarding our home either. The property and mortgage were in my name only. It was easier that way. Linda had no income, so she would only lower her credit rating. It didn't matter to either of us at the time because we planned to spend the rest of our lives together. Even if something happened to me, Linda would be the heir. I even made a will stating this. By the end of the week, I had a new will signed and notarized. I also hired a private investigator to watch my wife and gather more evidence of what she was doing. I had no doubts, but the girls would need more concrete evidence. It was a simple step. The next few steps would be a little more complicated and require assistance from lawyers and business professionals. "Carly, how is my beloved sister doing today?" I asked when she answered the call. "Damn it, I better be your favorite sister since I'm the only sister you have, you idiot," she answered. "What do you want?" "What do I want? I'm deeply offended that you immediately assume I want something when I call you." Yes. When you start a conversation with favorite, you always want something. What is it?" "Well, besides your sarcastic remarks, I really want to see my beloved and most beautiful sister. It's been a while and I thought you might want me to treat you to lunch today." "Oh, it's worse than I thought. Favorite, beautiful. And you buying?" "Wait while I look at the sky and see if the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are approaching." My sister and I got along very well. We were pretty much all we had left after our parents died. She divorced her cheating husband about 5 years ago. She went back to school and earned an MBA. Now she works as an account manager for a manufacturing firm in the city. They were one of my clients. In truth, she was too smart for the position. All she needed was experience and time before she could become vice president. If she had gotten her MBA and started working with them straight out of college, she could have been a CEO by now. Instead, she married a jerk and quit her job for a while. "Seriously, Carly, I really need your help. I need to see you today. Take the whole day off and meet me at Hammerhead's at 11. Wow, there's desperation in your voice, and I'm sure I heard a breakdown in it. "Oh, everything is bad, isn't it? This is worse than you can imagine. Please come." "Of course, big brother. I'll be there. Not only are you my big brother, but we both know I owe you everything for what you've done for me." "You don't owe me anything, little sister. I did what I did because you're my family. You needed help, and I just did what family does." "Okay, then this time, I'll do what family does." I was at the same table in the far corner when she entered. The hostess pointed her in my direction, and she came and sat down opposite me. "Do you have to go back today?" I asked. "No, you asked me to take the afternoon off, which I did," she answered. Hearing this, I placed our order with the waitress. I knew what she liked, so I just ordered it for both of us. "Bourbon at this time? Damn, this must be the apocalypse." "Almost," I answered. "Okay, Carly, here it is. You know I've long wanted you to come over and work for me. I understand you want to be on your own and earn money your own way. You think working for family will look like nepotism. This is simply not true. You are very good at what you do, and you're underestimated where you work. I really need you now." "Listen, Hank, I appreciate your offer. I really do. I'm just not sure how it will work. I know we get along great, but what would be different if you were my boss? I've heard horror stories about family members working for relatives." I sighed. "Okay, sister, I didn't want to do it this way, but I'm desperate. When I said I needed you to work in my company, it wasn't an exaggeration. I need you to do more than just come work at my firm. I need you to take over as CEO. I need you to run the firm, at least until Emma and Sarah are ready. I need you to be their mentor and prepare them for this. Once they reach the point where they can start taking over responsibilities, you can start handing them off. If you feel they're ready, Emma will likely take over as Chief Operating Officer, while Sarah will become General Manager. By then, you'll be able to retire or work as a consultant from time to time. Hank, you're kind of starting to scare me. If I take over your company and train your daughters to become managers when they graduate, what will you do? I couldn't help but notice you missed that part. That's why I wanted you to just accept my offer. I didn't want to go into details right now. I was hoping to tell you differently. Now I have to blame you for this, I sighed. Carly, a week ago I learned 2 things, both on the same day. Nobody else knows this, but I'm dying. I have pancreatic cancer. They can't do anything. I'll be lucky if I live another 6 months. It's probably more like 3 or 4 months. Things will quickly go downhill. Another thing is that Linda is cheating on me. I'll handle things with the girls, and you'll be trustee of the property. Linda won't get a damn thing. Everything is put into trusts, which you'll manage with the help of my lawyer. I've already drawn up a will stating this. I've transferred ownership of the company to a trust owned by you, Emma, and Sarah. I sold the house to the trust, so now it also belongs to the trust. I need you to help me with this. We sat in silence for a while. Carly was trying to come to terms with what I had just told her, and I was waiting for her to process it. Our food arrived, and we ate in silence. While the waitress was collecting our empty plates, Carly asked for another shot of bourbon. "You're a bastard for putting me in this position," she finally said. "Of course I'll do it. You don't leave me much choice." "I know, I'm sorry. Trust me, I wish I didn't have to do this. There are a couple more things I need you to do too, but we'll talk about that later." "Will I be angry about these other things?" she asked with a smile. "You can't even imagine," I answered. We spent the rest of the day discussing the firm and what it needed to do to prepare. Carly wasn't an engineer, but her role would mainly be on the business side of things. I told her I would be promoting one of my senior engineers to help her with the technical side of the business. We returned to my office, where we began reviewing invoices and other information she would need before we left for home. She used my computer to quickly write a letter of resignation from her job. By this point, events began to develop rapidly. Every day I felt myself becoming more exhausted. I spent long days in the office taking care of the firm, and my evenings teaching Carly. We also spent several hours in the office on both weekends. Linda started to worry about how exhausted I was. I would come home, have a quick snack, and then pass out in bed. There was no sex. Linda tried to talk to me about how I worked long hours. I explained that I had a couple of large, time-consuming projects in the works, but that everything would be completed in about 2 more weeks. I told her I was also making a few changes that would take a lot of the burden off me, but I needed to take the time now to make sure things went smoothly later. She wasn't happy, but she seemed to understand. It was Friday, Carly's last day at her old job, and she officially started on Monday. The private investigator finished his work, and I sat in his office looking over the results. Linda really had an affair with the football player 3 times a week. They left campus and went to a motel. There were even photographs and a short video taken through a slightly open curtain. There was no doubt they had sex. I thanked the investigator and paid the rest of the bill. He gave me paper documents and a flash drive. On Sunday evening, Carly and I finished talking everything over so she could start work the next morning. It had been a long day, and I felt it. I knew I needed to get things done this week before I got too far along to do so. "Okay, Carly, we've discussed most of what I need you to do. From 7 tomorrow morning, you'll be in charge." We met with the lawyer and accountant, and all necessary signatures were notarized. "You are officially in charge of all trusts in the company. I'm not going to tell you when, where, or what, but I need you to post bail for me when my lawyer calls you." "Crap. You're going to do something stupid, aren't you?" "It's a matter of opinion, but probably." "Okay, but murderers are not released on bail. Nobody will die. You don't have to worry about that. I want them to live and regret their actions." "Crap. So you don't want Linda to post bail for you? Is it because you don't expect her to be able to do it?" "I'm not going to hurt her physically. Still, I'm not sure she'll be willing to post bail for me." "Fine." Wednesday. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was hiding behind a large SUV next to Linda's car on the driver's side. It was parked in the motel parking lot. I heard them talking as they walked back to the car. It had to be fast and furious from the very beginning. He was much bigger than me. Then there was the fact that he had the strength and endurance of a high-level athlete. Then there was the small problem that I was deprived of strength and stamina due to my illness. I heard the car unlock as he pressed the key fob. He chuckled at something Linda said as he opened the passenger side door. I heard him open the driver's door and attacked. I was already swinging the bat when I rounded the back of the SUV. Linda's eyes began to widen at the sight of me. She didn't even have time to shout a warning when my bat came down hard on his right hand, which was resting on the roof of the car. When the bat bounced off, I continued my movement and uppercut him in the groin. He fell to the ground, trying to simultaneously grab his shattered arm and cover his groin as he writhed on the asphalt. The bat struck each knee, crushing both kneecaps. I had just broken his right elbow when a blinding pain shot through me. My whole body tensed and convulsed before I lost consciousness. When I came to, I was lying face down on the sidewalk with my wrists cuffed behind my back. I learned that due to poor timing, a patrol car had stopped on the street next to us, just as I began my attack. The cops saw me jump out of the SUV and attack my wife's lover. They hit me with a stun gun, preventing me from breaking his left elbow. When the ambulance arrived, 3 more patrol cars showed up. As soon as I regained consciousness, I was escorted and placed in the back seat of one of the cars. I found it interesting to watch my hysterical wife give a very animated version of events to a rather attractive policewoman. In the end, I was taken to the police station and arrested. Of course, they put me in an interrogation room. They used ordinary psychological techniques. Leave me alone for an hour or two, good cop, bad cop, everything will be fine if I just confess, etc. Seriously, did they want a confession? Unfortunately, these tricks only work on those who actually care what happens to them. I already knew what was going to happen. I was going to die, and there wasn't a damn thing that could change that. The DA had a lost cause, and she knew it. She also had a huge backlog of cases due to the coronavirus affecting judges, jurors, and other support staff. Why waste time on this when the outcome was a foregone conclusion? She proposed a deal. My lawyer presented it to me, and I refused. So we are back to the beginning of this story. Are you crazy? It was my lawyer, Jack Thompson. They've got an ironclad case against you. There are probably a dozen witnesses, including your wife, not to mention very clear video footage from not 1, not 2, but 3 separate security cameras. All in broad daylight, too. Your fingerprints and DNA are on every weapon you've used, and your motive is very well documented. And that doesn't even include the fact that the cops caught you red-handed, and their video cameras showed you attacking him. Jack's voice echoed in the small room as he laid out the grim reality. I understood why he thought I might be crazy for refusing the plea deal they offered. I could plead guilty and get 5 years with another 5 years of probation, or go to trial and face the chance of a 15 to 20-year sentence. If I were a normal, intelligent person, I wouldn't be in this situation at all. First off, it would have been better if I hadn't committed the crime in the first place. And if I did, I should have at least tried to cover my tracks. But no, I did it, and I didn't care who knew about it. Listen, you hired me to represent and advise you. I'm telling you, you don't stand a chance in court. The DA is only offering this deal because of the backlog of cases. By taking this deal, you save yourself the cost and time of an unnecessary trial. My best advice is to take the deal. You won't enjoy it, but no lawyer in the world can save you from this. If we go to trial, all I can do is sit next to you and watch the DA crucify you. I don't even have anything to justify my decision. As soon as the prosecution finishes, I'll drop my case too. I can't even call a single witness in your defense. You're finished. The only thing you can do is mitigate this disaster as much as possible by serving as little time as possible. Going to court will cost you a hell of a lot of money just to make things worse for yourself. So, lawyer, when will the trial take place? How long will it last? And how long after that until sentencing? I asked. Jack's eyes seemed to glaze over as he tried to come to terms with the fact that I simply didn't care. Due to the coronavirus, the actual trial will take place in about 6 months. Before that, there will be an arraignment, a hearing on charges, and an evidentiary hearing. I'll file motions that need to be heard, and the DA will file motions and a few other things. All I can do is try to delay the trial, but that won't change anything. Great. You need to call my sister and let her know what my bail will be. She'll post bail for me. It won't be cheap, but that's not your problem. Also, send her your invoices. She'll take care of them." He left, likely considering a psychiatric evaluation for me. Perhaps there could be a plea of insanity. I was fine with that. I had no problem paying him more money for trying his best, not that it really mattered. Linda surprised me by actually coming to see me while I was still in prison. I was charged and given bail. Carly had to post bail for me, but she was a little upset about the carnage. She would have helped me out, but first, she wanted me to cool off for a couple of days. "I'm sorry," she started. "It really didn't mean anything to me. There wasn't really any romance or feelings. It was easy sex." I finished it for her. Yes, he was just so big and strong. He had that confidence that just takes over the whole room. And yes, he was a little better than me. Congratulations, I'm glad he was able to make you happy. She definitely wasn't happy now. She began to sob, then abruptly stood up and ran out. Well, the next day I was released on bail. Carly picked me up and took me back to the office. "Well, if you wanted to ruin his life, you succeeded. He will never play sports again, even for fun. His right hand is crushed. They expect it to restore at best only 50% of its use. Both knees are destroyed. He'll be able to walk again, but that's it. His elbow will never fully extend either," she said after we sat down in her office. So I did it. Why such a massacre? Just he took away one of the most valuable things I had. I decided to repay him in kind. He took my wife from me. I took the game of football away from him. An eye for an eye. The future is for the future. You realize they're going to sue, don't you? Sue whom? And for what? Are they going to sue me? I'll be dead long before this comes to trial. If they try to seize my property, they will find that I don't have it. All I have at the moment is a couple thousand which I can live on for a couple more months. They can sue as much as they want, but they have nothing to recover. They can't go after the company because I already left the company. They can't go after the girls because they are adults and on their own. The only person they can go after is Linda, and I really don't care. Besides, she doesn't have the money to pay them off either. Fine, so what's your plan for now? I'm going to die. I refused the deal that was offered to me. It'll be a couple of months before the case goes to trial, and by then I'll be gone. You really need to talk to your daughters. They should know, and they really care about what you did. I plan to do this tonight, actually. You can do this in a few minutes. They're on their way. I've reserved a conference room for you for the rest of the day. Half an hour later, I sat across from my two daughters at the conference room table. Dad, what the hell? The video of you beating that guy with a baseball bat is all over the news. And what the hell did Mom do there? Emma asked. I pushed the folder towards them. Your mom was there because they had just left the motel room where they had sex. He was your mother's lover. These are documents from the private investigator I hired. Did you know he was a star football player in college and expected to be drafted in the first or second round? You ruined his career, Sarah said. Yes, I knew that. I did this on purpose. He took the love of my life, so I took what he loves. But now he'll sue you for everything you have, and you'll go to jail for a long time. Neither one nor the other will happen. First, I made sure I had nothing to lose. I don't have any assets that anyone can take. The company is no longer registered in my name. It now belongs to a trust in the name of Carly, and you two. All the money is in trust funds for you both. The house is in a trust in your name. You own everything. Carly is the executor of the trust. Your mother has no access to any of this. What you do for her is no longer my concern. Is there any chance you can make peace before you go to prison? Emma asked. No chance at all, and I already said that I won't go to jail. Dad, be realistic. It is impossible that you will not be convicted. We watched all the shows about it and looked at all the articles. There's no way you can get away with what you did. I won't get away with this. I'm not even trying. My emotions overwhelmed me from the moment my beautiful daughters entered the room. It hit me suddenly, like a truck. I wouldn't be there for their college graduations. I wouldn't be there to walk them down the aisle at their weddings. I would never be able to hug my grandchildren. I cried. I felt the presence of two people next to me, and they were holding me with their arms wrapped around me. Oh my God, what happened, Daddy? Sarah asked. I'm dying, little ones. I have a really bad form of cancer. I have 2 months left at best. They both screamed. I suddenly felt someone behind me hug the three of us. I looked and saw tears running down Carly's cheeks. The four of us sat and cried for a few more minutes, until we were able to get our emotions under control. Finally, I sat the girls back down in their chairs. As you can see, I will be gone long before my trial begins. Besides, I'll be dead before any trial even begins. Once I leave, they won't be able to get anything from me. Everything I had was disposed of long before the attack. They can't even foreclose on the house because I sold it to a trust. The proceeds from the sale went to a trust that will be available to you when you reach age 30. I have no assets. I cashed out all my investments and donated them to charity. Why didn't you tell us about this earlier? Emma asked. I found out about this about a month ago. Right after I left the doctor's office, I saw your mother's car driving away from the university. Her lover was driving, and she was in the passenger seat. I followed them to the motel. I watched them enter the room, then waited for about 2 hours for them to leave. I was devastated. Not only did I find out that I only had months to live, but I also discovered that the love of my life was cheating on me. I spent the next 2 days planning what I would do. Here is the end result of this planning. We talked and cried together for another hour. Then it was time for business again. I invited Carly to join us. We discussed the company's new organizational structure. When Emma graduates, she will begin working with engineers. She will participate in all projects and attend management meetings. Once she receives her PE license, she will be given her own projects to manage. Over time, she will begin to help Carly run the company. It is hoped that by the time Emma turns 30, she will be able to take over as Chief Operating Officer. As for Sarah, she will become Carly's assistant when she graduates. She will work side by side with Carly in the business side of the firm. Sarah will take over as CEO when she is ready. With Emma handling operations and Sarah handling business, everything should work out well. Carly will also be available to consult and arbitrate between the two. This was a week later. I lived with my sister and hadn't spoken to Linda since she visited me in prison. I was sitting on the couch in Carly's living room. A bright light was shining on me, and sitting opposite me was a rather attractive red-haired girl. Good morning. This is Amy Brown from Crap News. I'm here with Hank Miller, who is charged with causing grievous bodily harm during a brutal attack on a star player. Mr. Miller kindly agreed to an interview, she said, heading towards the cameras. Then she turned to me. Mr. Miller, I'm actually surprised that you're giving an interview. Are you concerned about the judge's gag order in this case? It doesn't bother me at all. There's really not much he can do about it. By the time it airs and he sees it, there's nothing he can do about it. But he can charge you with contempt of court and send you to prison, I laughed. Well, I really despise the divorce laws in this country. Look at them. A wife can cheat on her husband as much as she wants. If her husband tries to divorce her, she will get the children, the house, child support, and maintenance. She usually also receives most of the other assets. The poor man who marries her ends up living in a cheap apartment, eating top-quality ramen, and giving most of his income to his ex-wife to party with her string of lovers. They reward traitors and punish those who have done nothing wrong. Aren't you afraid of going to prison? Not in the least. What about the long prison sentence you are expecting? First of all, I wasn't actually convicted of anything. In our country, there is always a principle of innocent until proven guilty. Yes, but you must agree that there is irrefutable evidence against you. Yes, I am aware of this. I'm not the least bit worried about this. Fine. I can't wait to find out how you can be so sure of this. But what about Jamal's lawsuit against you? I understand that he is seeking over $40 million in compensation for lost income, pain, and suffering, not to mention lifelong physical maintenance. Blood from a stone, it will not happen. There's nothing to take from me. I'm unemployed and homeless. I have no assets. But you have a successful engineering firm and a huge house. No, that's not true. I sold my business and home over a month ago. I put everything I owned into trust funds to ensure my children would be taken care of if anything happened to me. All this was absolutely legal and ethical. All taxes have been duly paid. I cashed out all my investments and gave it all to charity. I don't even have a salary to steal. Fine, let's get back to the attack. You never denied that you did it, but you never said why. Why did you attack him and why so viciously? It seems like you deliberately targeted areas that would destroy any chance of an NFL career. Oh, that was certainly my goal. If the police hadn't used a stun gun on me, I would have crushed his other elbow and then added a couple more good blows to the groin before stopping. It was never my intention to kill him, just to maim him and destroy his capabilities. The attempted murder charge brought by the DA is a joke. My intention was never his death. In fact, I tried my best to avoid blows that could kill him. If I had wanted to do that, my first blow would have hit him on the head, not on the arm. So why did you attack him in the first place? Isn't it obvious? Where did the attack take place? In the motel parking lot. Who was with him? My wife. They had an affair. They had just left the room they had been in for 2 hours. I decided that if he could take away the most important thing in my life, my soulmate, I would take away the most important thing in his life, his football career. You certainly achieved your goal. What about your wife? After all, it takes two to tango. Are you planning to take revenge on her somehow? Yes, but I won't reveal it now. I won't use any physical violence on her, so you don't have to worry about that. My revenge on her for betraying me will be completely legal. Oh, she will suffer greatly, but she will not be able to do anything about it. In fact, what I planned has already been done, but she doesn't know about it yet. When will she find out? When will this interview air? Fine, let's get back to your upcoming prison sentence. It doesn't threaten me. I still haven't been convicted by a court, and besides, I'll be dead long before any trial begins. Amy gathered her notes and stood up. Thank you for agreeing to this interview. She shook my hand and passed me a note before leaving. After she left, a stunning blonde came in and sat next to me. A few minutes later, she was ready, and the dazzling light came on again. This is Jessica Moore from News. I'm here with Hank Miller, who... The judge would have been seriously pissed off when these interviews aired. I decided it was best to get them all done in one day before he could do anything about it. In any case, this was my last day of freedom. It didn't matter much where I was tomorrow. If he wanted to put me in jail for contempt of court, it would cost him a pretty penny. My lawyer would take care of that. The next morning, Carly took me to hospice, where I would stay until everything was over. Yes, the judge was angry. He was about to send the cops to take me to jail when my lawyer and doctor informed him that I needed to be admitted to the infirmary due to my health. The cost of this would be high. They also indicated they would be sure to mention it in the media. Instead, he had me put on an ankle monitor to make sure I wasn't leaving the hospice. I laughed. I had nowhere to go anyway. Carly and the girls visited me almost every day. I understood that they couldn't always come, but they were there when they could. Sometimes I was able to video chat with them. They kept me informed of events. Linda tried to visit me, but I crossed her off my visitor list. She gave the girls letters to give to me. They handed them to me when they arrived, and I just threw them in the trash after they left. I wasn't interested in anything she had to say. The district attorney initially tried to reschedule the trial date. My lawyer resisted. It soon became obvious that it didn't matter. I wouldn't be able to attend anyway. My lawyer then began a public campaign about how the DA was wasting money and resources by pursuing a case in which the defendant would be dead before trial. Being reasonable, the DA quietly dropped the case. Yes, a lawsuit was filed. Both Linda and I were in it. Since we were still married, she would be responsible for my debts after my death. This made me laugh. My girls are here with me. Carly, too. I'm so exhausted. I can say this is the end. I don't want to fight this anymore. I have nothing left and no reason to continue. I see another person slowly enter my room. Linda, my wife. I haven't seen her since she visited me in prison immediately after my arrest. Yes, I asked her to come. She nervously enters the room and sits next to the bed. I'm sorry, she said. I know. I also wish I overdid it with you. No, you didn't do that. If you left me anything, it would simply be taken away in a lawsuit. Besides, I was the one who screwed up and started the affair. I forgive you for this. I asked the girls to take care of you. I don't want you to go hungry or be homeless. I forgive you too. It's probably for the best. They will definitely try to take everything I have. As long as I have a place to live and enough money to live on, everything will be fine. I'm sorry I couldn't comfort you these past few months. That's all I did. I will have to live with this regret for the rest of my life. Don't be too hard on yourself. I left you. I couldn't just face you and get over it. Instead, I acted out of revenge. You did what you thought you should have done. You were rightfully angry. Please know this. I never stopped loving you. I will love you until the day I die. When this happens, we will meet again, and I will love you forever. You are my soulmate. I forgot about it for a while, but I'm back. I see that you are tired now. Sleep, my love. Go in peace. We'll meet again. Dad prepaid for his funeral. He also had a funeral account set up in case Mom needed it. The plots were also already purchased. We decided to have a private ceremony. It was only a family ceremony, but we agreed that 2 reporters could attend and film the video. We were adamant that they would not make a scene. It was a pleasure, and Amy and Jessica were very respectful. Jamal actually filed a lawsuit against Dad's estate. As you already know, he had no property to fight for. They tried to take over the business and trust funds, but we were able to defeat these claims. Dad had nothing to do with the firm at the time of the attack, and the trust funds were secure. Besides, Carly, Sarah, and I were not involved in any way. Mom also acted dishonestly. A judgment was issued against her to recover $20 million. Even though she had nothing they could take away, the decision still stood. Sarah and I hired Mom as a cook and housekeeper. She gets free room and board. We make sure she has enough cash for the fun she needs. Everything is legal and fair, at least as far as anyone could prove. His lawyers sniff around for something from time to time. They don't get paid until he can collect the money. He doesn't have the money to pay them. Being them sucks. Eventually, they will get tired of it and give up, at least until the fact that Mom has a lot of money becomes known to the general public. However, her name is kept secret. She's suffered enough. There is no point in adding anything else to this. Mom doesn't really date. She socializes with her friend groups. Sometimes she doesn't come home until the next morning. None of them are serious, just friends with benefits. She is adamant that she will never be in a serious relationship again. She will remain free until she meets Dad again. As for Jamal, he lives with his parents. His bedroom is on the first floor because he is not very good at using stairs. He was expelled, as expected, and refused to even think about going to another school. He just sits and plays video games, waiting for the money to come to him. That's probably why his parents put up with him, although I heard mutterings about how they were getting tired of waiting. Jamal may soon face a choice, be evicted or take action. So here's how things stand at the moment. Sarah and I really take over the firm, and Aunt Carly stops by sometimes to help. She is now retired and living a good life. She even takes Mom on a cruise a couple of times a year. Right now, Sarah has a steady boyfriend, and it looks pretty serious. As for me, well, I haven't found a single guy who looks like Mr. Right, although there are several mistresses who are now Mr. Right, one of which may soon lose the last word in its title. Her name is Amy, and she is a local news reporter.